One.
Hi, my name is John Hegarty. This is a digital story about my experience at Carmody Middle School and the Learner Analysis Project. My student, who I will call Benny, is 13. He is currently in the 7th grade, coming to Carmody Middle School from Pfeiffer Elementary, where he was in school from kindergarten to 6th grade. My initial impression of Benny is that he likes school and he has many friends, but he seems very guarded in class, meaning that he is very careful not to put himself in a situation where he'd be singled out either by the teacher or another student. He rarely raises his hand in class, but when I have come around to check on his classroom work, he does make an effort to do the work presented in class. Benny appears well taken care of. He looks healthy, he has clean clothes, and he has very good hygiene. He's a soft-spoken boy, and he treats everyone with kindness and respect. From a socio-cultural perspective, Benny is economically upper middle class and does not seem to be missing out from school opportunities because of lack of funds. He is white as mentioned, and I observed that all his friends are white as well. He is a typical white from Colorado, and I believe that his identity has been shaped according to how he was raised. No real-world social issues in time or extreme trauma during his childhood years. I chose this student because when my clinical teacher told me that he was on an IEP, I could not believe it. He seemed like every other kid, and he is just like every other kid. However, I was intrigued that he was an IEP for learning disability in reading and writing, and how it is affecting his classes. Watching Benny close, I can start to see how he hides the fact that his reading comprehension is behind almost everyone else. And I can start to see how he copes and tries to get away with it. Carmody Middle School is set in Lakewood, Colorado, in Jefferson County. It's a growing suburban community that still has a Rocky Mountain feel to it as a country town. Carmody Middle School ranks in the lower 25% in math and science as compared to its like schools in Jefferson County. The racial demographics of the school, it's 53% white, it's 38% Latino, it's about 1% black, and about 8% other. They do offer after-school programs. There's the one major program is offered at the gym across the parking lot. This program is offered through the Lakewood Recreation Center with support from the Lakewood Police Department. And students can register for the programs there throughout the year. Basically, they just have activities for sports and clubs, and it lasts until about 4:30. My student observation. Pause. I observed that Kenny was very quiet in class. That he's very shy and he would never speak up. He would not raise his hand, as I had mentioned before earlier. And to get him to do anything, you'd have to go to him and see if he needed help. And if you did go to him, he would open up and ask for help. But unless you went to him, he was not very proactive. So I saw a kid with a lot of friends who was very quiet and respectful, and who just sat there in class and just sort of absorbed it all. When I did my interview with Kenny, I learned a few things. Right? Benny says that school is just okay for him, and that sometimes he has good days and sometimes he has bad days. What makes a bad day for him is when he's in a bad mood coming into school, and he is sensitive to teacher moods. When a teacher or teachers are in a bad mood, he senses it and knows it's going to be a long day. Some supports he needs in school are extra time on doing assignments and tests. He sometimes asks that questions be read to him as well as reading them himself. Sentence sums are sometimes used, but he just needs to practice his reading and comprehension. Benny says that his reading is getting much better, and it is great to see his confidence grow. He feels challenged at school, and math is his favorite subject, and its hardest subject as well. Science and social studies to him are not that challenging, and that surprised me because of his learning disability on the IEP. Overall, Benny is a charming young man and is very popular in school and with all his teachers, and his teachers would like to see more of him in the classroom. Now, with my teachers' interviews, the summary of what I got, I interviewed his math teacher, his ELA teacher, his social studies teacher, and his science teacher. Basically, they all had basically the same things to say. Kind of student, he's a hard worker. He works hard in class. He always keeps trying, no matter how long it takes. The students respect him and he loves football. One teacher called him his mute angel. He is polite, very quiet, but doesn't advocate enough for himself. Some of his strengths and passions, the teacher said, was that he is very respectful and given enough time, he can give insightful comments. When he gets it, he gets it. Some of his weaknesses are he doesn't let you know what he is thinking. And you have to be aware of him just staring off sometimes in the space. Some other things that the teachers observed, like supports they use in the classroom. Sometimes they'll put Kenny or Benny with a higher level kid. He sits up front for tests and questions are read aloud to him. They use abbreviated assignments, providing an organizer, things like that. Benny learns best in group work and with a balance of one-on-one work. Benny works better with teams and direct instruction. He likes seeing modeling of the problem and explaining it afterwards. And you do have to give him extra time. And last of all, how is he in class? All the teachers think he is respectful and a hard worker and engaged and a leader. Some final thoughts that I have. When I first started my internship, I knew that all kids were different in their own way, but I also thought that all in all kids are kids. However, I found out that children have so many dimensions to them that I never even thought of, and that teaching these students was going to be more challenging than I thought. Each student is different, intellectually, behaviorally, culturally, socially, emotionally, psychologically, and physically. In each area that I've just mentioned, the students or learners come from different entry points, from the low end of the spectrum to the high, and everything in between. What I found out is that as a learner, the student is also just as different as it is, and it is my job to figure out who and where the student is so I'm best able to reach and teach them. So my ability to learn about learners has grown because I have started the process of understanding my students, but I still have such a long way to go to become the most effective teacher I can be. I think that as a teacher, I will never stop learning new concepts and overcoming new obstacles to reach all my students. When it came to my lesson planning, I was so grateful for the classes that I've taken to help me expand my abilities in lesson planning at UCD. Now, when I write my own lesson plans, I have to take into consideration not only the general education students, but I also have to plan for my students that are bilingual or advanced learners, students with intellectual or learning disabilities. I now have a beginner toolbox of tools and methodologies to help me plan and teach for my students, and my toolbox will never stop growing. I still have questions about Benny, because after all the extra work and effort that I was putting into Benny, he was responding and getting more involved in class. However, after about 4 weeks, he started to lose interest and his grades have shown it. What more could I have done to help Benny? I don't know. His grades in his other classes are all also not where we would like to see them. So should my effort have been directed in another direction? How have his other teachers responded to his needs after this latest round of assessment testing? Is something happening outside of school that is affecting his effort and he isn't sharing? I hope that after I am gone, that the faculty at Carmody will succeed with Benny and bring out his potential because he has it, just as all children do.